How are we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Big D podcast on the Spunky Spectrum Sports Network. I am back after a brief hiatus. Alex here at your ready to host this week's episode of the Big D podcast. Before we get too far into it, please do not forget, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel on YouTube. It's definitely Dylan is pushing out great content all the time, and you definitely do not want to miss it on YouTube. If you prefer to stream on any any popular music streaming site, you definitely stream the show on Spotify and Apple Music as well. But to introduce the man who might not be the fastest NFL player, he might not be the record holder fastest 40-yard dasher, but he is the best 5K runner of this group of podcasters, Mr. Dylan, the Big D himself. Welcome to your show, sir.
Thank you, Alex. If the National Football League made 5K a certain task for NFL players, I might have a chance. But Big D's not winning any 40-yard dashes anytime soon.
You don't think you and Tyreek Hill would be neck and neck after 39 yards?
If you give me a 38-yard head start, maybe.
Good answer. Good answer.
Maybe if I had Jalen Water coaching me, I might need a 38-yard head start.
There you go. Just have him push it from behind. You might be able to have something going there.
If I had the Eagles' offensive line, I could push me 40 yards. Those guys could push me 40 yards up the field.
I mean, they were doing it to Jalen Hurts all season long when it comes to 3rd and 4th and 1s.
Of course, if Jalen Watts could squat my whole house, that would help too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Alex, it's NFL Scouting Combine Week. See, you know what's the one drill? Everybody, it doesn't matter. You're the guy down the block or the guy who's been a hardcore NFL fan for 35 years. Once and can clock with just this watch right here. You know what that drill is? It's not the 3-point drill. It's not the bench press. It's the
40-yard dash. It is the highlight of every year's NFL scouting combine. Everyone tunes into NFL Network to watch all of the prospective NFL players plus one Rich Eisen running 40 yards down the field as fast as they can to potentially help or hurt their draft stock.
Yeah, so Alex, what is exactly a 40-yard dash?
Well, Dylan, I'm glad you asked. For those who don't know, the 40-yard dash is when you start at the goal line of an NFL field. You run 40 yards down the field, and you try and do it as fast as you can.
Wait a minute. That's not a football drill. That's just basically the underwear Olympics, if you ask me.
I did forget that you have to wear very tight underwear. That is definitely a requirement. You don't see anyone running in gym. I mean, sometimes you see the gym shorts, but most of the time it's the elastics. Makes you more aerodynamic or something, I'm sure.
But why does the scouting combine have 40-yard dash times? Because all the guys who play on Sundays wear football pads, but yet the 40-yard dashes take place for guys who don't wear pads.
Dylan, if we had to answer every question about why does the NFL do this, we would be here all night. It's obviously, I think at this point, it's more for the fans than anything else. I mean, I will have to say, if you really want to kind of get down to the nitty gritty, I think it's an opportunity for, any prospective NFL player, any former collegiate athlete who's trying to make it to the pros. Obviously, you're not going to the combine unless you're trying to get drafted. So I think it's really, if we really want to dive into it, it's probably there to make kind of either bubble guys or, maybe day 3 guys potentially bump up their draft stock a little bit more. But honestly, these days, like you said, they're running in tights. They're not running with shoulder pads and knee pads and helmets on. it's great to be fast, but if you look at the list of the fastest 40-yard dashers ever, I mean, there's really one guy on there who really made a significant career out of it. So I mean, it's definitely great and it's fun. It's enjoyable to watch these guys running as fast as they can, and it's almost hard to comprehend exactly how fast these 40 times are. I mean, you see a guy run a 4.6, 4.7 40-yard dash, and you think the guy's terrible when most of these people watching at home can't even run it in under 6. So I think it's definitely a little bit of the theatrics of the NFL, but it definitely, I'm sure, has helped a prospect or two bump up a couple spots on the board.
Speaking of fast 40-yard dash times, who owns some of the fastest 40-yard or official 40-yard dash times at the NFL scouting combine?
I mean, the guy I was just referencing, I said really there was one guy near the top of the list that really made a career out of it. I think when you think speed, especially if you watch 2000s NFL, Chris Johnson's the guy that comes to your mind. CJ2K. I mean, we all know how fast CJ was. I mean, I think he was kind of really, at least when I was growing up watching football, he was kind of the first speed guy you really remember. Obviously, John Ross back in 2017 took the title for the fastest official 40-yard dash at 4.22 seconds. But I mean, behind those two, Tariq Woolen. He's a decent, guy out of the 2022 draft class, but really the top 8 guys, it's not really a long list of NFL greats or anything like that. It's the fast guys, and it probably helped their draft stock, I'm sure. But John Ross, Chris Johnson, and I guess, unfortunately for Henry Ruggs, and that situation didn't end very well for anybody. But it's not the most notable names on the top of the list.
Yeah, John Ross, CJ2K, Dree Alsher from Kent State, Jerome Mathis, Marquise Goodwin. Well, he cheated because he was an Olympian.
Yeah.
Jerome Mathis ran a 4.26, and Tyreek Woolen last year. I think he Tyreek Woolen with the Seahawks. Seahawks run. Seahawks, right?
Raiders, but I could be wrong about that.
Seahawks, yeah, Seahawks. Hey, Pro Bowler.
Hey, there you go. I guess I stand corrected, but the name's Kalen Barnes.
6 interceptions as a rookie. I guess speed doesn't kill cornerbacks.
I guess not. The NFC West, I don't know. Yeah, never mind. I'm gonna leave that point kind of unturned. Didn't see much out of the Rams offense this year. We definitely didn't see much out of the 49ers put together a good offense, but the quarterback play wasn't necessarily the star of the show.
Okay, Alex, back when the 40-yard dash didn't matter so much, what were you think? What athletes do you think would have been maybe less important given their speed, or maybe reported speed in the 40-yard dash?
That's an interesting question. So players who maybe were known for their speed, but it wasn't because of the 40-yard dash, just because it wasn't as relevant back then?
No, no, the question is players who didn't necessarily have the best 40-yard dash time, but went on to have great careers in the NFL.
Gotcha. I think definitely when you think speed, but not necessarily a top 40 time, the first name that pops in my head is Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I think he's pretty much the consensus top fastest player in the NFL. Even if he isn't consistently the fastest clocked player in the NFL. Just watching that man run, just watching him catch a ball 5 yards across the middle of the field, and the next thing you know, he's 25 yards up it. It's pretty mind-boggling to watch him play. Obviously, with him joining Miami this season, I've had quite the year of being able to see that speed in action. I don't have his 40 time up in front of me. I'm sure
4.29.
4.29. So I mean that's definitely fast. Didn't quite make the top 8 list or whatever I was looking at earlier, but I think when you think speed, Tyreek Hill is definitely the guy you're thinking of.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go down a different point. A couple guys who I think the 40-yard dash would have hurt back in the day. One, Jerry Rice, because he ran like a 4.58, 4.6 40-yard dash. So you imagine everybody saying, well, Jerry Rice can't play in the NFL because he can't run a 40-yard dash. Well, you know what? So what if everybody runs well on the pants? Did anybody cover Jerry Rice when he was a San Francisco 49er? Let's see.
No.
No. Deion Sanders. Let's see. Deion Sanders, probably the fastest cornerback in NFL history. Let's see. Jerry Rice ran by him, right?
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. Who needs the 40-yard dash when you're the GOAT of wide receivers? And another guy who I think the 40-yard dash, especially now with all the social media, everybody having stopwatches and times readily available. Terrell Davis, when he played with the Denver Broncos, because Terrell TV was never known as a speed running back, but he went to the Broncos. That was went to the Broncos, the perfect team for him, because I mean, you probably don't remember this, but the Broncos literally possessed 1,000-yard running backs every year, and with TD it was 2,000 yards because TD was the perfect running back, a patient running back, somebody who saw the hole open. And with the Broncos offense line, you get a hole, TD will find the hole. And guess what? It didn't matter if it was the first carry of the game or the 31st carry of the game. TD is running through your defense.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great pick, and I love where you went there with that. And I kind of want to follow you up with something very kind of along the same lines. Now that I kind of see the direction you went, how about a guy who is known as being a fantastic receiver? He might be known for something a little bit more unique to himself, but definitely not known for his 40 time. Chad Johnson. Chad Johnson ran a 4.57 50 or 40-yard dash, which is not great when you speak in wide receivers. And obviously, as I was kind of alluding to, Chad Ochocinco is known primarily for celebrations, but one of the nastiest route runners in NFL history. I mean, if you ever just have a time to watch Chad Ochocinco clips, watch his highlight reel, watch his footwork. It's just unbelievable watching him be able to break in and out of routes back in the day. He's one of my favorite players that never played for the Miami Dolphins. I just loved his personality. I loved how, he was having fun playing the game, and it was very obvious to tell. But you look at his 40-yard, you look at his 40 time, he ran a 4.57. But when you're able to cut in and out of routes like that, it really doesn't matter. Technique can beat speed all day, every day. And being able to run routes where you are, his tagline is "I'm always open." He was always open. He didn't have to be the fastest wide receiver in the NFL to be open. He knew how to run his routes, cut on a dime, and lose a defender. And I think that's definitely something where if you're just looking at 40 times and you look at Ochocinco's 4.57, you think, there's no way he was that good of a receiver. But when you watch that man run his routes, and you watch him catch the ball, and you can even see him you'll even see him exploding. He doesn't look like a 4.57 wide receiver, but it's just because his routes were so clean and so sharp that you don't have to be running that fast. But if you can't follow where he's going, you're going to look real slow chasing after him.
You've been watching. You and Chad Ochocinco have been playing too much FIFA together.
That's my guy. Also thank you for the shout out. Yes, I have played Ochocinco multiple times in FIFA, and definitely pulled off a couple of victories against him, which he claims to be undefeated. And I know that is not the fact for the truth.
Yeah, and by the way, you might kill me for this, but didn't Tom Brady run like a what was his 40-yard dash time, like 5.2 something?
Like 34 minutes or something. I don't know.
And his NFL scouting combine picture would make it would turn almost look X-rayed with how he looked.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady was definitely never known for his speed. I think we all know that. And when it comes to the combine, he was definitely known for that picture because, if he didn't turn out to be the greatest quarterback of all time, he would have been a heck of a meme. I'll tell you that much.
He would have been the meme of the 21st century
Yeah,
if Twitter had been around those days.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, he would have been crucified. But I mean, fortunately for him, an unattractive combine picture and a slow 40 time didn't mean much when it came to his career. But let's transition. We've been talking about the 40-yard dash, and let's kind of mix things up a little bit. We're gonna stick with the 40. We're gonna lose the dash. I want to know, Dylan, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and you sure picked a heck of a segment here. But speaking of the number 40, I want to hear, Dylan, the number 40 of the NFL that you think of first when you see that jersey number.
Gale Sayers,
There you go.
the Kansas Common. Let's see. All he did in one NFL game was score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns. 6. We all remember Alvin Kamara scoring 5 against the Vikings on Christmas. Well, Gale Sayers scored how many touchdowns? How many fingers am I holding up?
I think you have six up, Dylan.
Yes, 6. 6.
Yeah, I mean,
And by the way, when he came back after wrecking his knee in the 60s, he still led the league in rushing, despite non-surgical whatever procedures they had back in the day.
yeah, I
Sayers
mean,
was more than a Kansas Common. Some people may consider him the best run or one of the best running backs of all time, despite not having a long career.
yeah, I mean, when you think of the number 40, that's obviously, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame. He's obviously one of the best running backs of all time. It was a pretty easy option for you. I was trying to think of someone more recent. I'm trying to think of number 40s that I could think of at any point. Specifically since I'd started watching football. And the guy that really jumped out to me was the only guy I could think of, but heck of a football player. How about Mike Allstott, man? I just remember watching those early 2000 Bucks. I mean, watching the Super Bowl of 2002 against John Gruden and the Raiders, and just watching those early Bucks and watching Mike Allstott and how mean he could run the football. I mean, those early 2000s years, some of those running backs, when we had Jerome Bettis running the ball, when you have Mike Allstott, just those angry running backs or fullbacks. I mean, Mike Allstott kind of transcended the fullback position, in my opinion. I mean, you think about fullbacks, obviously there's like Larry Zonka back in the day, but the fullback has never been a particularly sexy position. And I'll tell you what, watching Mike Allstott run the football and just run through people was something that I will always remember from my childhood, just watching in the NFL. And when I think of the number 40, I mean, just seeing that big, large semi truck of a man in a red football jersey just driving through defenders is something that really stands out to me. He definitely doesn't have the CV, definitely doesn't have the resume that Gale Sanders has, but Mike Allstott was in a league of his own when it came to the fullback position and really just unique runners of the football throughout NFL history.
I'll tell you what, Raider fans are still having nightmares of Mike Allstott in San
Absolutely.
Diego.
I mean, a lot of teams. How do you stop something like that? Giving Aaron Donald the football and just telling him to run. I mean, you're not bringing that man down unless you got 3 or 4 people jumping on him.
I mean, if Aaron Donald played offense, we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so how much does speed matter? Because yeah, guys can be fast, but can you play? But are you a good football player? Because I mean, how fast would Usain Bolt be in a 40-yard dash when he was the fastest man in the world? I mean, could Usain Bolt play in the NFL? Or do you have to be a football player? Or could you be a football player without speed? Because you think not this year with Mahomes, but last year's Super MVP, Cooper Kupp wasn't known for his 40-yard dash time, but he was great in that 10-yard area. I mean, you think of offensive, defensive linemen, maybe not having great 40-yard dash times, but that 10-yard initial quickness could quickness off the line of scrimmage maybe alleviate some of your speed deficiencies down the field.
Yeah, speed. I mean, speed matters. Speed definitely matters in the NFL. Obviously, it's not an end all be all. We've seen fast players before. I mean, we were just talking about the top 7 or 8 40-yard dash runners in the NFL, and really 3 of them, 4 of them tops were really relevant throughout their careers. I mean, a couple of them are still young, a couple of them are new age guys, but speed definitely matters. I mean, you were mentioning like a defensive end, an outside D end. You're going up against quarterbacks these days. Like, I mean, maybe not these days anymore, but when you're going up against a quarterback like Tom Brady or a quarterback like Drew Brees, guys who don't hold the football, if you have just that extra burst of speed as opposed to the guy who's playing the same position as you on the other side of the field, that quick little burst or that extra bit of speed could be the difference between Tom Brady throwing an 80-yard touchdown pass or the difference between you putting him on the dirt. I mean, you want to talk about offense. I just mentioned it. Tyreek Hill. I will never forget watching Tyreek Hill at that Dolphins game I went to this season against the Houston Texans. I mean, just watching it in person, watching him catch a 5-yard pass, and the next thing you know, he's 25, 30 yards down the field when he's running past all the defenders. It's things like that where, yes, speed, it's not an end all be all, but having that speed is such a unique addition to your skill set. It can't be your only skill set, but if you have it in addition to your primary skill set, it is one of the hardest things to defend against, or either offensively or defensively, because everyone says it. You can't coach speed. And I mean, just having that speed as a receiver, you can turn a 5, 6, 7-yard gain into a 30-yard gain. You, as a running back, you can if you don't have that speed and you don't hit that hole before it closes, that could be an 80-yard house call, or you're getting tackled at the line of scrimmage. I mean, you have to have the skill set, but having that speed on top of it is huge. I mean, it can make the difference in any moment in any NFL game. I will never forget the Miami Dolphins drafting Clyde Edmund-Gates, a receiver, I believe, out of Ohio State, but I could definitely be wrong about that. And man was known for his speed, but he could not catch the football to save his life. I couldn't tell you how many drop passes I saw Clyde Edmund-Gates drop as a member of the Miami Dolphins, and we booed him out of town. Ted Ginn Jr., the exact same thing. It's just, if speed is the only thing, especially as a wide receiver, speed is the only thing in your wheelhouse and you can't catch the ball, you are good as nothing. So yes, it is very important. It is a huge attribute to have, but it has to be a bonus on top of your already perfected skill set, because without anything else, if you just have speed, you're another wide receiver who drops a deep pass. I mean, it's great to have, but you have to know how to use it, and you have to make sure you know how to do a couple other things in addition to it.
Who the heck is Clyde? I mean, Clyde Gates? I never even heard of him.
Well, there's a lot of former Dolphins players who you probably haven't heard of, who I have a pretty burning dislike for, because there's been a sure heck of a lot of them who've let me down over the years. Deion Jordan, that name ring a bell to you?
Oh yeah.
Trade up to the number 3 draft pick and take Deion Jordan.
Clyde Gates went to Abilene Christian.
Ohio State was way off, but I don't know where I got that from. But yeah, I mean, what was his 40 time? Let's find out. Clyde Gates 40 time. I bet it's under 4.35. 4.37. I was close.
Well, speaking of 40-yard dash times, do you remember every year when a certain Rich Eisen runs his 40-yard dash for charity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember the first year he did it. and it was, I mean, honestly, a bit of a gag reel that I think NFL Network was trying to throw in there as an extra little attention grabber or something to keep people awake or something. But I mean, it's turned into a yearly event that everyone looks forward to.
Well, Alex, I think we should do our own 40-yard dashes.
You know, Dylan, I'm not quite in the shape that I used to be, but I think I might take you up on that challenge.
I'm maybe a 5K runner, but I accept. I'm ready for this.
Now, I mean, I don't know, Dylan. You want to put anything on the line here? I don't know. I mean, remember, I played soccer for a good 18 years, so running comes pretty naturally to me.
Wait a minute, I'm a 5K runner, homie.
Sounds like you're pretty confident then.
Okay, I'm not okay, I'm not that confident. You probably beat me in a 40-yard dash, but I'll beat you in a 5K.
I'll beat you in a mile.
Oof. So, Alex, who do you want to look at first? Do you want to look at me or we look at you?
I want to see you first, Dylan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's my 40-yard dash. So, Alex, how do I look?
I'm not gonna lie, Dylan. I'm impressed. I think that you could probably. I think you're counting yourself short when I mentioned that Tyreek Hill race earlier.
Okay, Alex. Okay, Alex. Now, I will admit my 40-yard dash was after a 2.5 mile run. But you
Sounds
imagine what I could do if I was starting my workout with a 40-yard dash.
all right. I hear the excuses. You know, it's all right. I mean, yeah, okay. Maybe you should have thought about that before you got that little run in first. But you know, I'll give it to you.
Hey, Alex, when you have this guy on you, you've got to find shortcuts whenever you have. All right, Alex, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for bringing your speed to the game, and maybe before the next 40-yard dash video, maybe we'll talk in a few more speed guys joining the Miami Dolphins.
Hey, we can always take them. Fun fact before I let you go: the Miami Dolphins are known for their speed. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert. But do you know? Fun little trivia question: who has the fastest recorded offensive line 40-yard dash time in NFL history?
Oh gosh. How far back do I have to go?
Well, I gave you a massive hint leading up to the question.
It's not Tony Mandarich, right?
Nope.
Who is it?
Karan Armstead. So not
Really?
only do
Dolphins left tackle?
the Miami Dolphins' current left tackle has the offensive lineman record for fastest 40-yard dash at 4.71 seconds.
Yee.
Miami Dolphins are made of speed. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Big D podcast here on the Spunky Spectrum Sports Network. It's been a pleasure. It's been my pleasure. It's always nice to be back. Fins up, baby.